Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, some guests need to return, and that's because there's always so much more information to learn about them, such as today's guest. Get right into it. His name is Martin Featherson. Welcome to the show, Martin.
Thank you for having me back. I very much appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Listen, I have to say some things from to the audience. This is what Martin wrote, okay? Before belly flopping into the deep end of writing pool, Martin spent several excruciating decades in the business world. I just love your language. It's so fabulous.
Thank you.
Now, what we didn't know last time, or what we didn't learn, was that you had one time been a lecturer at Mcgill University in Montreal.
That's right. Yeah, for about a 9-year period, while I was still working full-time, I was also doing various classes and seminars at Mcgill in their MBA program, BCom and MBA programs. So I did courses, because I should back up a little bit, because the company I worked for, and frankly, strangely enough, all of the companies I ever worked for in my early days were Japanese-owned companies. Yeah, so Panasonic, Canon, and then Brother, which is a manufacturer of printers and office machines. So they're all, based in Japan or owned by Japan. So when Mcgill came along, the people had asked me to speak. They said, "Would you talk to our graduating or third-year students about perhaps the differences between North American business relationships and the relationships one has in Asia, specifically Japan, but also China, and because we did a lot of work with China in manufacturing, Vietnam, etc." So they asked me to speak to their students as part of the curriculum each year, 2 terms, to explain the quite significant differences in what it took to do business, both face-to-face and in writing, with Asian counterparts or Asian suppliers or owners or whatever. So that's what I did for Mcgill for quite a few years.
Okay, so, but how did you get connected to Mcgill in the beginning, in the first place?
Well, our company did a lot of placement work with Mcgill students as they graduated. We had co-op programs, and we also hired often from the graduating class for many of the programs we had in our organization. So I got to know quite a few contacts there and at other universities, but there in particular. And then I met a wonderful gentleman by the name of Andre DeSalt, and he runs some of the BCom and MBA programs for business students. And we actually met discussing which students would be best for a co-op program and stuff for their organization. And out of the blue, he kind of said, "Would you like to lecture? Would you like to do some seminars and stuff?" And so it just kind of rolled from there. And I'd never thought of it before that. But I'll be honest though, Nancy, it was, versus the corporate world, it was the most fun I ever had.
Nice.
Working for free.
Yeah.
in my life, right. Or almost free, but it was so wonderful, and there were so many. The world has changed since I was in school like that, and it was a bit of an eye opener for me to talk to a lot of these students and to learn their plans and stuff, and it was interesting is the right word.
I bet. I'm going to take you back to the cradle, because somehow you were ripped out of your cradle.
Ripped, torn.
Torn. What happened there?
Well, I may be embellishing ever so slightly, but the intent there was that growing up in England, I was born in England, as some of my readers who've read the biography, the author's biography, might know that I was born there. Came to Canada when I was merely 7, hence the lack of an accent that I guess peer pressure gets rid of that pretty fast when you go to school. But growing up in a British family, even just in those 7 years we were there, and of course what I learned later after that from my father and stuff, is that inbred type of sense of humor the Brits have, highly sardonic, very much self-deprecating in nature. Take a shot at myself before I take a shot at anybody else, but everybody's fair game, right? And so the reference you're referring to there, pulled from the cradle and immersed in British comedy, was, you know, I grew up in an era of shows like Monty Python, and you know, shows like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was first a radio show and then on television. Shows you wouldn't even know in Canada, like The Goodies and things like that, which were, you know, just they all came from a central theme, which was just silliness. Okay, pure silliness. It didn't take the world seriously at all. I wouldn't say by any means it was nihilistic, but it was certainly existential. It was just, you know, it's just, I'm here and this is what I'm going to do. And that's what these comedies were very much oriented to. I should point out, though, too, that you know, I've had many people over the years say, "Oh, Monty Python, I don't get it. It's just silliness." Well, no, it's on the surface, it's silliness. All of them are these British types of humor, but underneath, it's very intelligent humor. You know, you'd have to have a pretty decent grasp of the world to understand their references to philosophy or their references to history or the monarchy or whatever. So it was kind of a double-edged sword, that, you know, of comedy, that you know, yes, on the surface it's a bunch of people dressing up and doing silly things, but underneath there was a lot of social commentary. There was a lot of shots taken at the world and so on and so forth. And I adored that. It helped me through my life, even before I was writing, because it helped me understand that if I addressed the world predominantly with a smile and with humor, I could say almost anything I wanted to. Even the tough stuff that had to be said could be approached in that manner. And that served me very well over the years.
I'm glad you mentioned about the show Goodies, because when I read it on the bio you sent, I thought you were talking about the candies. So I couldn't figure out how that fit in.
Yes, I don't know. I don't think we had Goodies candies I know we still have them here in Canada, of course, but no, we didn't have those. That was actually a show of three very silly men doing very, very silly things. And it was just a precursor to many other shows that came after it, which, you know.
Have you been served? And there
Exactly.
are so many. Yeah, just fabulous. Now, getting back to you being here when you were 7 years old, unfortunately, you're in Montreal and you can't skate.
Yeah. Yes. Well, when I first came to Canada, we settled in a small town, first of all, which is before I ever saw Montreal or Toronto, which is called Port Hope. And Port Hope, for those in Ontario know, it's just south of Peterborough on Lake Ontario. It's an idyllic little town, lovely little place to grow up, but I mean, very small. So from the standpoint that if you know, in 1969, if you jettison a white little boy like myself with an English accent into it, that's going to stand out. And I guess, and it did, as you might well imagine, in good ways and in bad ways too. You know, you can be the different kid, so you get picked on a little bit too. But yes, that's sort of where I ended up. And of course, at 7 years old or 8 years of age, I wanted to talk about my favorite football teams, or, you know, whatever it was that I found interesting in my first 7 years on the planet.
Right.
And they're saying, well, hockey, 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 hockey. You know, do you collect cards? Do you trade cards? Do you know this? Do you know? So I determined very quickly after a month or so in Canada that the entire culture revolved around hockey. And if I wanted to blend in and assimilate, I had to start collecting hockey cards. I had to, and of course I tried to skate and fell flat on my, you know what, and that didn't work out too well for me. And I never really gave it much of an effort to learn. And so at every level of my life as I grew, people were saying, you know, what's your team? Do you skate? What position did you used to play? And then it was like, well, you know, you might as well banish me to somewhere in nowhere, Canada, because I don't know what you're talking about and I've never done it. So, you know.
It's kind of interesting because, like, I was born in New Brunswick, small town in New Brunswick. When we moved to Montreal, like, we spoke different, we dressed different, we never heard of pizza or like Chinese food. You could have put us on an alien planet somewhere, you know. So
right.
that same reaction where people are talking about stuff that we hadn't a clue what it was all about.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, frankly speaking, there was even a culture shock when we eventually moved from that small town Canada to big city Canada. You know, I mean, even that, and even going to university was kind of like, whoa, where did all this come from? I mean, I wasn't, you know, I didn't connect to any of this sort of thing when I was growing up, or even in high school. It was a very isolated. So even for coming from England to Canada, it was still an isolated type of Canada, as you said, like in a small town. And then you leave and it's like, whoa, I didn't know this was all out there.
Yeah, it's just fascinating, actually. Now, okay, your hobbies include amateur radiology.
That's correct. Yeah, I like to take X-rays of things. Yeah. You know, it's fun. You know, I like to get things that are normally not X-rayed, like let's say a sandwich, you know, or and take X-rays of it, see what it looks like inside. You know, it's important. I think we all have an X-ray machine in our home just for fun, something to do. So yeah.
You'll have to invest in one.
You should. It's a laugh riot. Now I wouldn't use it too often.
No, why?
Just saying, you know, the whole radiation thing, you know, you might not want to be using it, you know, a couple times a day, though, is fine, just to see what's going on, you know, get a little pain in the hand, you do it yourself, saves a lot of time.
Imagine it would be fascinating. Now, okay, and now what are pottery-based weapons?
For those of you for those of you out there that didn't see my first interview with Nancy, she's referring to the biography I placed in the book. So once again, I hope no one's taking this too seriously, and no one's calling the Canadian Medical Association to look for lost radiological equipment. But yes, one of my jokes in there was that, you know, I collected pottery-based weapons because I thought, you know, what a fun term, because surely pottery is too easy to break to be a weapon. So yes, of course, I collect pottery-based weapons. Shards of pottery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to kill you with a shard.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no! Oh my gosh! Okay, Aardvarkian philosophy.
Now that's a very serious one. I think Aardvarkian philosophy. The aardvark is overlooked in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Very much so. You know, as an animal. You know, often mistaken. You know, as simply an anteater. But no, the aardvark. Those of us who watched the aardvark when we were growing up as kids, the cartoon, the ant and the aardvark. You know, that you're not giving me any connection here, so I'm assuming you've never seen it. But that was my first impression of how intelligent, you know, aardvarks are, that they could talk and they could, you know, they were quite funny. So I wanted to delve into the philosophy behind aardvarks, you know, and what they thought. And in general terms, it's not a lot. It's not a great deal that they think about other than survival. But when they do think about it, it tends to be very much Nietzschean in nature. Okay, and they question everything. And they're also not very godlike. I find that most aardvarks I've met are atheists. So it's it seems to be a trend among the aardvark community at this time, and it could go away. I mean, you know, trends with aardvarks come and go, but right now the in thing is, you know, questioning and atheism and stuff.
I vaguely remember that show, though.
Do you?
Yeah, vaguely. I mean, it's probably before my time, really. You know, so maybe I don't know when it was. Maybe when my kids were young. I have no idea. One of the things you mentioned was like later on as an adult, you know, getting away from the political correctness speak, and the obligation to wear pants.
Wearing pants is awful. Oh, no one should have a job where you have to wear pants.
Well, I had a job where I had to wear a skirt or a dress all the time, and it's just as bad.
It is. Well, yeah, I mean, yes, I've tried the skirt and dress too, and I didn't like it either, but the pants is so confining too, especially during warm weather. No, I couldn't agree more. Like getting out of the corporate world, the first thing I noticed was this is very freeing, very breezy, very nice, you know, to not have to be, you know, so suited up all the time. So yeah, as for the political speak goes, well, you know, in all seriousness, you can imagine, you know, at any corporate level, regardless of where one rises to in the business, you're never allowed to be yourself, are you? You're never allowed to just say what's actually on your mind. No, you have to have the political speak. It has to be said correctly. If you want to disagree, you have to do it in such a way. You can't just simply go, that's stupid. And, I'm the type of guy that tends to go, that's stupid. So, I never enjoyed that kind of approach, even though I was 30 plus years in the corporate world. So you can imagine being freed from both political speak and pants all at once on a single Monday morning was euphoric. Yeah. Yeah. If it weren't for certain laws in the community, I would have went dancing, down the street. And
Visual. You ever wonder why it's okay for women to wear pants and not so okay for men to wear dresses?
I think it's perfectly fine for men to wear dresses. I have no problem with that. Of course, I grew up around a lot of men that had kilts, and I don't know why. I mean, certainly the term is kilt. The design is different, but as far as I can tell, the mechanics are the same. It's a dress or a skirt is a skirt. Right. A good friend of mine in Montreal got married. This is many years ago now, and he got married in his kilt. And of course, I'm assuming there's a tradition in wearing a kilt.
Well, go ahead, talk about it.
Well, you're only supposed to wear the kilt.
Yes.
As you know, as hopefully your viewers also know, that anything under the kilt is that's terrible. That's a no-no. So, at his reception, when he was pulled out on the floor for multiple dances and stuff, everybody there knew who the best man was eventually. Like, it wasn't very hard to tell. So it's quite an outfit. But in all honesty, it's great. I love the history behind it. I don't actually understand how, I suppose it's fashion or some sort of antiquated rules, or likely man-made rules from the past that says, you wear pants, you wear dresses. But frankly, I think it's all silly. It
is silly. Well, there's been cultures where men wear, it's kind of like a sarong.
Yeah.
Right? And nobody thinks anything of it.
No. And why would you really? In general terms, I think, even if you look back 100 years into the early part of the century and look at the fashions then, with the, the not even an ankle showing and stuff, and the men with their top hats and their, spats and things like, and ties and stuff, it's slow to change, but it's changing. I mean, I don't even know of that many organizations anymore that require a man to wear a tie. And when you think about it, what an absurd accessory, right? I guess it's supposed to cover up the buttons and be very nice, but you go through your whole life choking like this. And it's, so I'm glad that's going away. It'd be nice when everyone can just dress whatever way they please and nobody cares.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how things start, because I know that wedding dresses became fashionable with, I think, was Queen Victoria. Because prior to that, women just wear their best dresses.
That's right.
Right. And people are willing to pay $20,000, $30,000 for a dress that they're going to wear once.
How did it get to that? How did we get to the point where someone has convinced people that they need to go deep in debt, not just for their wedding, but for a dress they'll only wear once in their life? And like you said, these outrageous prices. Somebody's doing very well off of this. The wedding business does extremely well, I think. But
I never understand people being willing to follow a fashion. I don't get it. I never did get it.
No, and as you can probably tell, I don't either. But I guess when you're young, certainly I know when I was young, probably the same with you, you wanted to fit in, you needed to be a part of a clique, a group, right? And to do so meant that you spoke the same, you dressed the same, you liked the same things. Even if you didn't like them, you liked them. You followed the same music because it was comforting, right? You needed to run with a pack. You didn't want to be out on your own. But as you got a little bit older, you thought, hey, what's wrong with being out on your own? What's wrong with being a little bit different, dressing a little bit different? I came from an era, you'll laugh, where when I was in high school, I don't know when that would have been, mid 70s, late 70s, 77, 78, 79, best music in the world ever. And from there, I remember the absurdity now. It wasn't absurd then, but I think back to it and all I can do is laugh, that every guy, myself included, faded blue jeans, faded jean jacket,
Right.
right?
Right.
Blue jeans, everybody walked around like in a denim tuxedo. and we were all identical. We're all the same, long hair, jeans with jeans. And when I think back to it now, it's like, and yet the pressure was incredible, right? You'd show up and you were wearing shoes that your mother got you at Zellers or something. And it's like, those aren't the right shoes. You can't wear those. Those are stupid, right? You have to wear this shoe or whatever. I don't know if that's going away. You should talk to maybe a few guests about what the trends, whether their trends are more freeing now at high school and beyond, because I hope people, children in particular, are breaking away from that and just being themselves,
I have to admit that I was considered, I never did fit in. So obviously I did wear some of the things or have some of the things that other people did, but we were a poor family, so we didn't have fancy clothes, so.
Right.
Yeah, and it was difficult. I wanted to fit in. I just didn't know how. I thought I wanted to fit in. Actually, when I think about it, I did everything I could not to fit in. So obviously that wasn't real. Anyway, enough about me. So what are you doing currently in your life, with your life?
Two things. Okay. Well, three. I'm talking to you, but I don't think that's what you mean. So two things. The first book is out, as you know. It's finally out for real after my launch date got all messed up for a month, but now it's out everywhere. It's at Chapters and Amazon and stuff. And
sorry, do you have a copy you can show?
Do I have a copy? Yes, I do.
Yes.
Can I leave the screen for 1 second?
Yeah, just remind everybody, we just want to talk so you can remember the title of the book, so you can go and buy one or order one.
This is called a plug, isn't it? I've always wanted to do a plug. Yeah. Oh, anyway, this is, get the shine off of it here. Nothing Sacred. The first novel. Surprise, surprise, it's comedy. And this book is the first book in a trilogy. Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Nancy? Yeah. And so this book is now out in ebook format and in hardcover like this. Please check it out. It's designed to make you laugh. There's a whole bunch of underlying philosophy and some science and even a hunk of physics in there, and which I adore all of those particular subjects. But over and above, it's just supposed to be a good laugh, and I hope it cheers some people up in these very difficult times. Book 2 of the trilogy is what I'm doing right now, to answer your question, which I'm about 75% done. Probably going to take another couple of months or so to polish it, get it to the editor, and hopefully it'll be following this up come end of the year. So we'll see how we can do with deadlines. My favorite author in the world, Douglas Adams, who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide, he has had a tremendous quote about deadlines. He said, "I love deadlines. I especially love the sound they make when they whoosh by." I tend to be the same. I set my own deadlines and then I just break them, and it's terrible. The other thing I'm doing at a volunteer level, pro bono level, is I'm working with a company in Guelph, Ontario, on a Green Earth project to develop what is called rainwater harvesting. Rainwater purification from in-home or in-building or in school, which can save upwards of hundreds of millions of gallons of water every year and reuse it within the system. And we're just about ready to go to market. We're just at the point of signing a few things with some manufacturing partners and investors and going from there. And that is very exciting because I can't wait to roll that out. It'll be rolled out worldwide, but there are places in Canada I want to target first that just need that type of technology so bad, and I'm looking forward to being a part of that. So that's what I'm doing.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Well, we'll end it there. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you, and
my pleasure.
Thank everybody for watching the show. I hope you continue to do so and check out his book. I'm going to put the information so you'll be able to see it there at Lip. There it is right there. So yeah, nice plug. Anyway, thanks everybody. Thank you, Martin, and take care. Everybody.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
A sense of community till it wax a place to be. A sense of community when you're free. Rolling Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.